Next reader is commonly referred to as my minion, so I'll just say that, right? I think all graduate assistants now have to be referred to that way. Tori Bond is an MFA candidate in the creative writing program at Rosemont College. She writes fiction from 25-word stories to over 100,000-word novels. Her work has appeared in Extraordinary Gifts by PS Books, Flash Fiction Funny Anthology, Monkey Bicycle, Everyday Fiction, Bicycle Review, and others. She is currently working on her thesis, which is a flash fiction collection. Tori lives in Bucks County, PA, with her husband and 2 children. Please welcome Tori.
Thanks for coming tonight. I'm going to start with, there's some people who don't think I write anything seriously, so I'm going to start with this piece called Invincible. The quarry was the closest thing to a swim club we'd ever belonged to. The unnamed dirt roads leading to it were mapped into our DNA. Rocks and chains blocked the entrance. Like that could keep us from trespassing with our rebellious cut-off jeans and long hair. The girls adorned tans with sandals. Bikini tops were optional. The guys wore ragged sneakers and bandanas. We were so beautiful. Billy was the first to launch off that cliff, howling the whole way down. I'd leap after him, screaming in terror joy. What took seconds felt like minutes before we exploded through the cold black surface into the bottomless depths where cars and buses were rumored to rest, a watery junkyard grave. Under rose-tinged sunset, we'd build a fire. Billy jumped over those flames like a crazy man, convincing us we were invincible. That was the last summer together. The draft picked off the guys except for Kevin, whose asthma saved him. Being the last son saved Dickie until he pickled his brain in a bar when his brother returned in a box. Mark survived, but his legs didn't. Billy returned intact, an unrecognized hero. The wildness I loved so much was gone, except for a small fragment that floated in his dark eyes. Our memories no longer haunt that swimming hole. Developers found those dirt roads. Luxury townhouses peer over our cliff. I thought invincibility made us free. I was wrong. Our innocence made us believe we were free. Now for something a little lighter and darker at the same time. This is called DIY embalming, for all you do-it-yourselfers out there. I followed the steps laid out in the Embalming in the USA article this weekend in my garage. I started with a tabby cat. You know how it goes. The car runs the stop sign, and well, he became my first home embalming project. The essay gave detailed instructions on how to perform an embalming. I did run into a few issues with stained fur and got frustrated. I reminded myself that this was not an article on taxidermy, and I decided to improvise. My daughter screamed when she entered the garage in search of her skates. I yelled, "Calm down," and explained that this was my first time, and if she would just hold the book and read the next step, things would go a lot smoother. She gave me that disgusted look like I shouldn't even be talking to her, never mind hugging her with my goopy hands. While the essay described and listed the chemicals I needed, it didn't tell me where I could purchase such items. Once again, I reverted to improvising, using bleach and ammonia, but that led to other problems. When I came to on the cement floor, I got mad and rifled through the essay to find where it told me not to mix bleach and ammonia. But the author failed to tell me that. How irresponsible. When I got to the step on prepping the body/cat for the coffin/shoebox, I ran into another snag. I wanted to arrange the body in a tasteful way, a pose that said "rest in peace," but the instructions were for human hands. And when I tried that with the paws, Mr. Tabby looked like he was playing coy or needed to pee. I had thought of myself as a creative problem solver. Ooh, note to self, add creative problem solver to resume. So I placed his paws over his eyes, which read, "Playful yet restful." I had these intense creative urges that needed to be expressed. I thought of home embalming as a functional art. Plus, home embalming provided service to the community. Who could afford professional funeral services in this bad economy? Small business was all the buzz, where new jobs went to be born. That's what they said, so I used that newfangled bootstrap technology to translate my embalming hobby into a cottage business out of my condo. We set up an arch in the drainage ditch because my neighbors did not like the furry funerals happening on the front lawn. I argued that the gardens out front were the perfect setting. Nothing says grief like a Japanese red maple. But I was forced to be flexible. Note to self, add flexible to resume. We borrowed a few benches and a bird bath where kids and their parents could say goodbye to their loved ones. While growing the business, we ate mayonnaise sandwiches, which were delicious but budget busting. I told my daughter she needed to ride her bike to Subworld and steal packets of the calorie-laden condiment or eat ketchup. She said, "Ew, can you say humiliating?" I said, "Aw, can you say dignity?" She could, because words like that required a living wage, which was an elusive creature I'd been hunting down for years. Sherry at Temps R Us agency said I need to fill out my resume. No one wants to hire the long-term unemployed, she said. Who could blame them, I said, and slapped my knee. I updated my resume with good with people and small animals. Okay, I might have stretched to good with people, but I was working on that. I definitely had entrepreneurial tendencies. I added experience with chemicals and not afraid to get my hands dirty to my resume. I did try to get a job at Moyer's Funeral Home, one of the few thriving businesses in town, but they never hired outside of the family. Don't think I didn't try marrying into the job. I had to apologize after that job interview. Sorry, Mrs. Moyer, I didn't realize Mr. Moyer was married. Happily. Beth, my caseworker at unemployment, got on my case about not applying enough. Believe me, if it was pressure or chemicals, I definitely applied enough. We got into a heated debate. Desperate is not a job skill, she told me, in her uppity, I've got a job way. At some point, I graduated from accidental roadkill, animals no one would miss, to neighborhood pets that met unfortunate ends. Mostly accidents, but I felt the ends justified the means. Slowly, I built a very appreciative clientele of pet owners wanting good-looking pet corpses for family funerals. My work was very fulfilling, but the chemicals were expensive, and the pet funerals seemed to slow down for some reason. I could barely eke out a living for myself and my daughter, so I began to think bigger. That's when I started volunteering at homeless shelters. This last piece is short. It's been published in Flash Fiction Funny. I'm really thrilled to be included. There's some really great writers in here, including Randall Brown, Steve Allman, Pamela Painter, and a lot of other great writers. So this piece is called Swimming with the Chickens. Those golden roasted chickens were feisty swimmers. I complained to the lifeguard that dinner did not belong in the pool with my kid. Someone might drown. A glaze of teenage condescension closed over the lifeguard's eyes. His chest puffed up like a hairless life vest, inflated with absolute power over the pool population. Nobody likes a tattletale at any age, sir. 5 deliciously caramelized hens dunked my daughter when she exited the frog tongue slide. I had to beat them off with a metal barbecue fork. I got scolded for doing harm to those animals that tried to wrestle my daughter to a watery death. Katie and I were forced to sit poolside on our towel for timeout because of my savagery. But those nasty, mouth-watering chickens went unpunished. Bullies, that's what they are, I growled to my daughter. Just because they're small and beakless doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. The lifeguards mistakenly thought they were charming with their crispy skin and irresistible juiciness. They're so cunning, I said, working myself up into a foaming at the mouth frenzy. They're too smart to show their pack mentality in front of anyone with authority. Katie inched away from me to dangle her hand in the cool, grease-slicked water. This is what I got for wanting a better life for us, living in one of the better vegan neighborhoods. Don't get me wrong, vegans are good people, but they let those damn chickens get away with murder in the name of humanitarianism. I hated those bullies. They made me want to tear their limbs off and shred their tender nuggets with my canines. But I controlled my animal urges. I didn't want my daughter to suffer because her father was an outed carnivore. The schools were worth biting my tongue for. I chomped on a carrot stick, watching the flock frolic in the kiddie pool while we roasted in the sun, waiting to be released from our injustice.